Hello geometry students, here is the algebra for the chapter 10 test. Alright, you'll see that these first three can be solved as proportions, so I can just put a 1 underneath that, cross multiply. You have 20x equals 8. 1 times 8 is 8. Divide by 20 on both sides and you find that x equals 2/5 or 0.4 if you prefer the decimal. If you're wondering if that's right, plug it in up here. Do 8 divided by 0.4. You'll see that you get 20. Alright. Part B. Again, we can turn this into a fraction by putting that over 1. We need to use the distributive property. In this one, 5 times the quantity x minus 2. And that equals x times 1. So 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 2 is 10. And I have x over here. Now we just solve it. We got the hard part out of the way. As long as we don't miss negative symbols here, we can take it in for the answer. Divide by -4, and you get x equals 2.5. Negative divided by negative equals a positive. Just to show you that we can be confident of this answer, we can do a check. We can put 2.5 in place of x and see if it makes a true statement. People don't check often enough. They just think, well, my calculator said it was this, so it's got to be, and that's not what we should be doing. 0.5, 2.5 minus 2 is 0.5, so it made a true statement. Got 0.5 on both sides, so I know x equals 2.5 is the correct answer. Again, with C, cross multiply, so we have 3 times x, and again we have to use the distributive property. 4 times, we put our x plus 7 in parentheses. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 7 is 28. So we have 3x equals 28. Oops, divide by 4x by, I'm sorry, I meant to subtract. Pardon me, I have a cat climbing up on my lap. It's distracting. Alright, so minus 4x. Minus 4x. So negative x equals 28. So if the opposite of x is 28, that means x has to equal negative 28. And again, if you wanted to check that, 3 over negative 28 plus 7, does that equal 4 over negative 28? Yes, it does, because this is 3 over negative 21, which is negative 1/7. And 4 over negative 28 also reduces to negative 1/7. So I got the same thing both sides. So make sure you're checking these so you have the right answer. Then you can be sure that it's correct. Alright, this one's a little bit different than the others. Let me erase some of this so it's not in our way. I'm sure you've already got this information. Alright, we can't do this one quite the same way as the others, and here's why. It's not a true proportion. If I didn't have the minus 3 on the end of it, it would be a proportion. But I do have that. So the best way to take care of this is to do a method we call clearing the fraction. And to do that, we think about these denominators, 14, 2, and 1. What would be the common denominator for those three? It would be 14. So we can multiply everything in the equation by 14. So you can see that gives me 14x over 14x, or over 14 I mean. 14x over 2 minus, because I have to do this times both these, 3 times 40, 14 is 42. Alright, this reduces, that's just x, and this is 7x equals, or minus 42. So now we can subtract 7x, which gives us negative 6x equals negative 42. I'll run out of room here, but you can see negative 42 divided by negative 6 is 7. So it equals 7. And you can see, just doing a mental check, 7 over 14 is 1/2. 7 over 2 is 3.5. Minus 3 also makes 1/2. So you can see that it works. So there's your algebra. The first 3 were done with simple proportions. The last one was done by clearing fractions. Remember how when we clear fractions, you look at each of these as a separate fraction, each of the 3 parts of this equation, and determine what would be a common denominator for those 3 denominators. Multiply that whole equation by that lowest common denominator. It'll clear the fractions out and make it much easier to solve. Alright, that's the algebra. See you on the next one.